Good morning, Sumit sir. How you gave questions for regulation classes, would you be giving it for bar as well?
Okay, so you want questions for regulation, or just you want to ask whether for bar also I'm going to cover in a same way for a
Yeah,
regulation.
for
Okay,
bar,
yeah.
for
So
bar also if you're going to do like regulations
yeah,
with
yes,
extra questions, solving
yes. So
time involved.
correct. So I already prepare a 50 question set. Okay. So today we are going to complete the B1, and after that we start with the question answer solving. So the
Okay,
same
sir.
pattern which I maintain for the regulation. Once we complete
Okay, sir.
the individual module, then we will solve MCQs and simulation.
Okay.
So if you want, we can start. They will join. Okay. So today, we need to start why the business entities go for a globally. Okay, what's the motivation for them to operate in a international territories? Okay, so here the one is competitive advantage and the imperfect markets. We go one by one. Okay. Okay. So any example for it means here we already have an example, but the kind of similar example anyone can give. Okay. You can consider the example of particularly the Dubai. If you see, they don't have their own market, but most of the representative of the organization located in various countries, they come in a Dubai, and then they finalize the deal. Okay, so because of that reason, their tourism also get increases, and even though they don't have a much resources to build them, okay, but they make this territory as a marketplace. Okay, so wherever there is a like India Pakistan, so there is a lots of restrictions in for finalizing the trade with a Pakistan entity. Okay, so what generally the people are preferred, they meet in a Dubai, and they finalize the trade, and then they rotate the all the goods movement through the Dubai. So this kind of so whatever the resources every country has, they are going to take an advantage of this. Okay, so as an Indian entity, if I want to build my business, or build my um, operations. Okay, so what I'll do, whatever may be the specialty of a particular country, that I am going to utilize for my own production or for my supply. Okay, so that is basically the comparative advantage. I mean, so if I try to meet someone in a Pakistan, so it is difficult, because once I have a visa for the Pakistan, then there may be possibility that other country may reject my visa. Okay, so that's why I'm using the intermediary. Okay, then imperfect market. Okay. So, imperfect market means you never find all the solution at one place. Okay. So, because of that reason, you need to always evaluate that which country may give a cheaper raw material or the cheaper sources. Okay. And whatever may be the quantity you required. Okay. So that's why you need to explore the international opportunity. So the example which given here is high-tech component Inc. requires special electronic component to build its state-of-the-art antenna system. Although the company purchased 50% of this component domestically, High-Tech has historically purchased 35% and 15% of the remaining specialized component from Asia and Europe respectively. So over the past 6 months, High-Tech has faced significant increase in the prices of this international component due to the production shortage, high shipping cost, and political tensions with several of the exporting countries. In order to remedy this risk, High-Tech is currently seeking other international trading partners for the specialized component. So you never get all the solution domestically. So we need to import, or you may get an export orders. So to balance the requirement, okay, you need to explore the international opportunities. Then product cycle. Okay. So what is product cycle?
It's the cycle of product from introduction to recession.
Yeah, introduction to obsolete. So it is basically the first introduction, second growth, then maturity, after that there is a decline, okay, and obsolete. Okay, so this way, I mean, every product, I mean, whatever may be the things in a world, everyone has some end. Okay, so whenever you introduce a new product, it is a first is basically the introduction stage. After that, you started to pick up the market, which is a growth stage. Then you realize that there is a maturity. Okay, means you are at a peak and now there is no further growth potential. Okay, and after that, because the new facilities are coming or the some alternate or substitute come in market, then you need to start to face a decline, and over the period it becomes an obsolete. Means there is no more requirement. Can you give any practical example which may you may observe that product get introduced and he has a good branding, good sale, and after that it started to get decline and now no one is using it. Any guess?
Nokia.
Yes, Nokia could be the one example. Okay, because
Great,
yes,
great,
can you spell it?
great by great card by Kunal Bansi.
Okay, I'm not able to hear clearly. Okay, but Nokia is basically one of the best example. Means once upon a time, they have a highest mobile. I mean, they are having an highest mobile market. But today, no one is using this phone. Okay, so in a product cycle, I mean, this is the stages, but beside that, once you establish in a domestic market, okay, for generating a new business, you can explore the in international market. So if you have a established product in a domestic market, then maybe you can explore the opportunities in a foreign market. Okay. Beside this, uh, is there any other motivation to enter in a foreign market or international business? Diversification of risk. If one country they face a recession or slow growth, then other country business in other country may compensate. Then to like sometime only is because see, if you see in India there are lots of foreign companies maybe with a smaller size, okay, they maintain their presence in India just to justify that they have a service location in India. So it is basically maybe for brand recognition. Okay, then access to skilled labor. Okay, most of the US software company they open the office in India just to get an skilled labor with a low salaries or low labor rate. Yeah, so these are basically some more motivational factor, and because of for I mean so that you may enter into the international territory or international business. Now, method of conducting international business operation. So it is first one is international trade. International trade. So it is simple import export. Export. Okay. So like there is no presence in foreign country. Okay. It is just a simple import and export. Okay. Then second is licensing. Licensing. Okay. So here entities that provide right to use of processes or technology or right to use. Okay. So any example for licensing beside the given here? Any example? Software license. Okay. So it is right to use like SAP. We are using in a most of the organization as an accounting software. So we do not have an ownership on the SAP product. It is basically the license. I mean, who are using the SAP software, they have a license to use it. Then franchising. Okay. So any example for franchising?
McDonald's.
McDonald's, sir.
MACD. Yeah. MACD. Yeah. So any like the food chain or where like the franchisee partner is operate or he is more focused on the delivery rather than product. Okay, so that is basically the franchising. So here he is more focused on the increasing the market, and in a licensing you have a right to use a particular license, a particular product. Then joint venture. Any example of joint venture? It is just like a partnership for a limited purpose.
Maruti Suzuki.
Yes, purpose. Suzuki is the right example. Okay. So yeah, so here both the entity they are maintaining their separate presence, and plus they incorporate a joint company where both the companies contribute their expertise. Okay, so Maruti in this situation, the Suzuki is basically the technology partner, and Maruti is basically the domestic partner in India, or they're giving an access to the market, but both are maintaining the equal control over the activity. Then FDI. Any example of FDI? Walmart. Okay, they open some branches or the some store in India, and plus they started to acquire e-commerce company in India. So how they are doing it? They invested a money in India through FDI route. Okay, so here they have a full ownership. So generally, means if there is 100% subsidiary of a foreign entity, that means they acquire or they build a company in India through FDI route, foreign direct investment. Then global sourcing. Okay, so in global sourcing, whatever may be the product required, each and every country. Okay, so that is routed through global purchase department. So it includes everything: import, export, licensing, franchisee, joint venture. Okay, so say for for any company, they have an head office at Germany. So the purchase department of Germany making all the agreement or contract for all their subsidiaries. Okay, so that is basically the global sourcing. Okay, so these are basically the method that we can adopt to do the international businesses. Okay, so now we need to see the factors which affect the international business operation. So first, political environment. How it affect? Some example means it is given here. Certain that could potentially disruptive to an entity. Okay, so how the political risk affect? I mean, some of the example of a political risk which affect the international business. Any guess? If there is a instability of the government, okay, so then we are not aware the kind of policy or the sector for which the government is giving an importance. Okay, and because of that reason, we cannot predict. I mean, the foreign investors cannot invest because he may not clear about how they can get the market in foreign country. Second, there may be a some rules that the 51% stake of the local people. Okay, so in that situation or restriction on repatriation of money. Yeah, just hold for 1 minute. Like there is a certain technical issue at my end. Just give me 5 minutes. Yeah. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And the screen is visible, na?
It is visible, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then potential for the asset expropriation. Okay. So, like, I mean, particularly in China, basically, if you set up,
Hello.
yeah, am I audible? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir. You're audible. I guess.
Okay. So, but
Coffee, sir.
sorry?
Is it clear? Rukmini, could you mute yourself?
Hmm? Okay. So, in China, particularly, if you see, any foreign entity, they need to surrender their asset to the Chinese government. Surrender their asset to Chinese government. Okay. So, nations may take asset from the international companies that own the asset. Okay. So, this is also one risk which you need to think. Okay. After that, taxes and tariff, of course, because just to discourage the import, okay, um, government may leave higher taxes. Okay, so that is also um, issue, and limitation on asset ownership or a joint venture participation that we already discussed. Okay, the content or value added limit, that is also the case. Means sometimes like government may insist that at least 70% of the raw material we need to procure locally. Content and value added limit. So here what happened, like for Indian government now they are promoting Make in India. So they may insist the government, means right now it is a strict condition to the government organization that they should procure the material 80% locally. In the same way, any government can insist the foreign entities to procure a material, I mean, for a particular value or to some extent locally to promote the local business. Okay, so that is also the restriction. Then foreign trade zone. Foreign trade zone. So it is basically like in India, there is a free trade warehousing zone. So it is the concept where even if you import a material to India, but you do not require to pay any import duty. Okay, so it is just like a foreign land in India, but not required to pay import duty. And if you send the material from FTWZ to other country, so you can save the duty amount. Okay, that is basically the benefit. See, what happened whenever you are importing the material in India, you need to pay the custom duty, import duty. Okay, and while exporting the same material in as it is form, you do not require to pay any duty, but your cost of goods sold get increased because you already bring the material in India and paid the import duty. But government gave some facilities. If you import the material in free trade warehousing zone (FTWZ), then you do not require to pay any import duty. And from there, means from FTWZ, you are directly exporting. So, like your cost of goods sold can be reduced. But if you clear in for an Indian territory, then you need to pay the import duty. So here we have a two benefit. One is basically the postponement, means you imported the material in India, okay, to save the delivery time, okay. But whenever you required, at that time only you clear the good for the domestic territory. So there is a postponement of a import duty. Import duty. Okay. So when you bring the material, when you brought the material in FTWZ, you do not require to pay the import duty. But when you actually require the material for your production facility in India, at that time you need to pay the import duty. Okay. So this is the benefit, and it is means governed by the government. Then economic system. So centrally planned economy. So particularly, we can take an example of China. They generally decide I mean, how much quantity can produce by the private parties and how much quantity can produce by the government. Okay. So some economies such as China are centrally planned. Factors of production, capital, land, etc. are owned by the government and subject to restriction. So that is means whenever there is a dictatorship from the government side, okay. So in that situation, it is whatever may be the production or whatever may be the activities like the private parties need to do, that is very limited, and most of the production or the capital investment done by the government. Then market economies. Most industrialized economies such as United States and Japan are market economies. Okay. So the factors of production are owned by the individual. So in centrally planned economic and the market economies. So here domination from the government side, and in my it is basically the domination from the individual side. Individual. So like example here is a China, and here the example is US or Japan. Okay, so individuals are free to decide what to produce and how much they need to produce. This happened in a market economies, and when there is a restriction from the central government or the intervention of the central government, then it is basically the centrally planned economies. So they drive the economies. The government is driving the economies. Okay, in market economies, government also driving the economies, but they have a very limited power. And then conglomerates. So it is basically the means some part controlled by the government and the some part controlled by the individual. So means if I need to give the example of conglomerates, like uh, basically one brand in multiple product or operate in several sector under one brand or management. So example, if we need to take Reliance, you can consider. So they operated in several sector, but the management is with the one person, and then the another example may be the Tata Group. So whoever may be the bigger group, okay. So they operate in a several industries, okay, but they operate in a several industries, but the management is from the one person or the one small group. Okay, so that is basically the conglomerates. Then culture. So different culture affect the international business. Culture can be defined as the shared value and attitude of a group. Cultures, okay. So how the individual react on a particular situation, that is basically the culture, okay. So like particularly the mall concept very much prevail in India, but it is not that much successful in US. Okay, in US, most of the people they want to they like to stay alone. Okay, they don't want to interact with the groups. Okay, but in India, if you find, we mostly celebrate the festivals together, and we are more interested in link with each other. Okay, so this way the culture also affect the um, business. So uncertainty avoidance. So, example of uncertainty avoidance in a culture. Any exam how we can give? Okay. So, particularly if you consider the Japanese culture, they always do a business in a planned manner. Okay. But if you consider this an Indian business entity, they are okay with certain contingencies. Okay, so this is basically, I mean, the certain cultures have difficulty dealing with an uncertainty. So the United States typically has guarded ability to accept uncertainty, while Asian and South American cultures may be highly averse to dealing with the uncertainty. So here, if you see the Japanese, they don't like uncertainty. Okay, so they always try to avoid the uncertainty, and that's why they plan in very detailed way. But if you see the Indian entities, they are okay with certain contingencies. Okay. Then short term and long term orientation. So, example for short term and long term orientation in culture. Generally, uh, so sometime we means we adopt the culture in a very slow manner and we generally resist to change. Okay, so that is basically the kind of long term approach. Okay, so once we establish with a certain culture values, okay, so then we preserve it for a long term purpose. But there are certain countries where there is a frequent changes in a like acceptance of a particular culture. So that is basically the short term aspect. Okay, so here certain cultures are traditional, adopting more slowly to change, while others are more focused on immediate gratification. So United States tend to have a short term orientation, and many Asian cultures have a long term focus. Okay, so US people are change their taste and preferences quickly, but in India, like we try to preserve our own culture. Then acceptance of leadership hierarchy. So in India, we generally have a hierarchy, but in US, we have, but in US, it is flat organization. Okay. So, cultures have varying degree of acceptance of vast difference between the leadership and the rank and file. Some accept large differences in power and other anticipate greatest level of equality. Okay. So, in United States has a balanced view on this. Although former European monarchies may be more accepting of a wide difference in a power, less developed former colonial counterparts in Asia and South America are often more distrustful of a wide depression of the power. So in India, if you see, there is a like seventh or eighth scale. Okay, like director, then supervisory board, then executive board. After that, like CEO, then department head. So there is a lots of hierarchy, but in US mostly it is with they deal with the flat organization. I mean, there is no much hierarchy. Then technology and infrastructure. So international business may require factoring in a wide differences in communication system, transportation system, power and water sources, training of staff, differences in accounting practices. So these are basically factors in I mean, how the culture of the different international businesses are different with each other. Okay. So now we need to see the inherent risk of international business operation. So these are the risks whenever you are work in a domestic territory. So there are so many things which we can predict easily. But when you enter in the international market, okay, so you need to, I mean, by default, you need to face some risk. Okay, so first risk is basically exchange rate. Here, because you need to convert your local currency to foreign currency for doing a trade. Okay, so that's why you need to bear the exchange rate. Okay, for us, domestic currency is a legal tender. Okay, but the foreign currency is just like a commodity. So the rate of the foreign currency always prevail by the market demand and supply and some other factor that we will see. Okay, So exchange rate risk. So we can take an example of transaction risk, economic risk, and translation risk. First is transaction risk. Okay, transaction risk means whatever may be the, when we buy, at that time the exchange rate is 84, but when we make a payment, the exchange rate is 85. Okay, so what means when I book the purchase, it is with 84. So say for if I purchase a material for $100, so it is basically 8,400 is my INR booking amount purchase, but I need to pay 8,500 for purchase booking of 8,400. So it is a loss of 100. Okay, so any risk associated with a particular transaction, okay, or any variation in an exchange rate while settling a particular transaction, that is basically the transaction risk. So whatever maybe the exchange rate differences happened between the transaction date to the settlement date, that is basically the transaction risk. Then economic risk. Economic risk basically, like if I open a subsidiary in India, okay, means the German company open a subsidiary in India, and they assume that they may get a cheaper labor. Okay, so at that time, labor cost is basically, say for 500 rupees per hour. Okay, so what they feel and the exchange rate may be the 1 euro equals to 100 INR. Okay, so that's why they feel that 5 euro is sufficient to manage the labor. Okay, but in long run, what happened? The 1 euro becomes the 50 INR. 50 INR. So because of exchange rate, now they need to spend 10 euro instead of 5 euro. So that is basically their economic loss. Okay. So like whenever the foreign entity, they open a subsidiary to utilize the cheaper source. Okay. But because of exchange rate, because of exchange rate trust, it may possible whatever their original plan, okay, they need to spend more than that. Okay, so here what happened, they gave a thought that 5 euro is sufficient for a per hour. Okay, but now just because of exchange rate, they need to pay the 10 euro. So that is a economic loss for them. Then the translation risk, it is basically this risk arises when there is a consolidation of the financials. Translation risk. So what happened? A subsidiary prepare the financial in a local currency. They need to convert their financials in a reporting currency. Okay. So subsidiary prepare financials in local currency. Okay. Now they need to convert their financials in a reporting currency, which is basically foreign currency. currency. Okay, so what happened, there is a lots of norms here, but in a simple words, like financials, you are converting with a closing exchange rate, balance sheet item. I mean, there is an exception, just to explain. Balance sheet item, you need to convert with a closing exchange rate, but PNL you are going to convert average exchange rate. So, and because of that reason, there is a slight difference. There is a difference arises in a balance sheet, and that differences we need to consider as a translation risk. Okay. So, if I consider like the closing exchange rate is 85, 85, and the PNL exchange rate is 82. Okay. So, whenever whatever may be the balance in PNL, which shifted to which we transferred to balance sheet, that we are converting with an 82. Like all other balance sheet item, we are converted with an 85. So there you may find the difference in balance sheet. Okay, and that difference we need to consider as a translation risk. Okay, so these are basically the three kind of exchange rates. Then foreign economies. An operation within a foreign economies carries a risk of functioning within the general health or weaknesses of a particular economy. Domestic economies may be booming while the international economies may be suffering and acting as a drag on a multinational company's overall performance. The state of the foreign economy in which the company operate is highly significant to risk evaluation. Okay, so means what happened, you are operated in a several countries. Okay, so it may possible domestic means company headquarter in a US, they are doing well. Okay, but whatever if they have a subsidiary in India, or instead of India, if they have a subsidiary in Russia, and because of war they are not able to do it. Okay, so this will also impact to the profitability of the domestic country, I mean the holding company. Okay, so that is also the inherent risk. Means you may establish a foreign subsidiary with the intention that you will get an additional market and additional profit, but it may possible that whatever the prices which you are charging, this may not acceptable to the foreign entity. Okay, and foreign territory, and because of that reason you may need to suffer a loss. Then foreign demand. So multinational corporation exporting to a foreign country is vitally concerned with the demand within that country. Demand is directly affected by the health of the economy of the country in which it operates. So same example, if the purchasing capacity of the foreign entity is high, okay, or they are having a good salaries, then the demand may picked up. But if they are not able to afford, okay, so then the demand for a foreign demand for a product in a foreign country may go down. See, sometime what happened, like foreign entity, they produce a product, okay, at 200% cost, which may give double life. Okay, as compared to local product. Okay, so people may also think why they are going to invest 200% amount upfront. Okay, so that may be the question, and because of that reason, the demand in a foreign territory may get weakened. Okay, so if US company want to sell their product in India with the US prices, then Indian customer may not absorb it. Okay, so this is also the inherent limitation. Even though the product has a good quality, even though the product is able to give a good result, or the I mean, if I see the cost per component, CPC, cost per component is less, even though the product is costly. Okay, but the Indian entity may not ready to do any upfront investment. Okay, so that's why they may go with the local product, which may give a less quality, which may give a lesser life. Okay, still they are okay to go with the local product. So in that situation also, like the demand for a foreign product may goes down. Okay, so then some other example is basically if the government place additional tariff. Okay, so in that situation also, it is difficult to sustain the price level. Okay, so and the government may implement some measure to reduce the curtailment of the foreign operation or the export of goods produced by the multinational inside the foreign country instead of selling within the foreign country. Okay, so if they adopt this measure, then the demand for a foreign product, or means the US product in India may goes down like this. Okay, so these are also the inherent limitation. Then interest rate is also the issue. So higher interest rate in a foreign country are indicated of slower economic growth and reduced demand, and the lower interest rate in a foreign country may be indicative of increased growth and demand. Okay, so in India we have a higher interest rate. So what happened are whatever may be the earning, okay, that goes to paying the interest amount, and because of that reason the purchasing capacity of the Indian citizen is very means less. Okay, and because of that reason the economic growth is slow. Okay, so what happened means if you compare with the US entity, US citizen, so they are paying the interest at the rate of 2%, but we are paying the interest at the rate of 10%. Okay, so this 8% difference goes to the interest payment, and because of that reason payment. Okay, and because of that reason the purchasing capacity of the Indian citizen is less. Capacity is less. Okay, and the US citizen is high. Okay, and if they are not having a surplus money, then it is difficult for them to buy the foreign product. Okay, for Indian entity. Okay, and this way the interest rate also affect the demand for a demand in a foreign country. Then the inflation. So higher local inflation reduces the purchasing power. The same way, like if inflation is high, so there more commodity, more surplus money they need to invest to cater their daily needs. Okay, so higher local inflation reduces the purchasing power, making imported goods more expensive and reducing the local demand. And the lower local inflation increases the purchasing power for imported goods, resulting in a higher local demand. So this way the inflation is also affected. So what happened in inflation? If in US inflation is high, okay, so their cost of product is high, okay, and if they sell this material in India with a high cost of production, with high cost of production, okay, okay, then Indian may go with the local product, local product. Okay, so what happened in US? If inflation is high, that means they can produce a end product with a higher cost. Okay, and if they want to sell in India, okay, so I mean Indian is already a developing country, so they are able to get the cheaper product. And plus, as the inflation in US is high, they need to absorb the inflation in a US. Okay, so that is also difficult for them. Okay, so inflation is basically affected or discouraging the demand in a foreign territory. If the inflation is high, then the demand in a foreign territory may get reduced. Okay. Exchange rate, we already discussed. Weak local currency reduces the demand for imported goods, and strong local currency increases the demand for imported goods. The same way, means the way we discuss in a transaction. And then the political risk. Okay, so political risk represent non-economic events or environmental conditions that are potentially disruptive to the financial operations. So ultimately, political climate or actions can disrupt the cash flow. Although the expropriation of a productive resources represent the most extreme political risk, other features of political risk also must be considered, including. So expropriation of a productive resources. Okay, if there is a restriction to transfer the asset to local country, okay, so it is the biggest political risk, but there are certain other risks. So bureaucracies and related inefficiencies or barrier to trade. If you cannot get the license in a time, okay, so then it is also issue for any foreign entity, issue for any entity to do the business in a foreign country. Okay, the corruption, then host government attitude towards the foreign firm. Okay, so most of the countries, they generally do not like enter the foreign companies in their domestic territory. So it depends on the government attitude. Then attitude of the consumer towards foreign firm. So again, whether the consumers are willing to buy the foreign product or not, that also affect. And inconvertibility of a foreign currency, means if you earn money in a foreign currency but you can convert in a their domestic currency, so this will not help them. Okay, and the last one is war. So these are basically some political risk. Okay, so like here, I mean, you just need to consider the generalized aspect. Okay, so when you want to enter into the foreign territory, okay, so what kind of risk you need to consider? What are the way you can enter into the foreign territory? Okay, so that we need to we saw here. Then business combination. Okay, so first we need to see horizontal business combination. horizontal business combination. So horizontal means this line. Okay. So what we are doing,
Mami ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಕದ್ದು ಯಾವ ಮಮ್ಮಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ ಮಮ್ಮಿ 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 ಡ್ಯಾಡಿ ಕುಡಿ ಮಮ್ಮಿ ಅತ್ತೆ
okay. So produce same product. Okay, I mean there are two or more business entity. They are
Bhumika, could you please mute yourself? She's laughing.
yeah. Bhumika, can you mute yourself?
Sir, I guess you can only mute her.
No, I even cannot mute actually.
But Kavita ma'am can do it.
Yeah. Just a minute. Hmm.
I think Sudipta sir is there.
Yeah, I'm
You
just.
can ask him.
What training?
Sir, can you mute Bhumika?
No, I could not get you. Please sing
Sir, please mute Bhumika, sir. There's a lot of disturbance.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So horizontal business combination. Horizontal is basically the this line. You can consider this as a line. So two or more business entities, they are belonging to same industry and producing the same product, and they come together and start a joint venture. I mean, not exactly the joint venture, and instead of competing with each other, they are going to operate together. Okay, so it is basically when you are acquiring any competitor, that means it is a horizontal business combination. So can you give any example for it? Any example? It is basically Vodafone plus Idea. Okay, so instead of competing with each other, they merge and they started to operate in a single brand. Okay, so the objective behind the horizontal combination is to reduce the competition. So whenever there is a question of horizontal combination, that means we are acquiring competitor. Then vertical combination. Vertical combination. It is just like this way. Okay, so what is that? Forward or backward integration. What does it mean? Like customer or supplier. Okay, so whenever you are acquiring customer or supplier, that means it is vertical combination. Okay, so like example for vertical combination. Okay, one more issue. See, if it is,
Coca-Cola acquiring its water bottle supplier.
yeah, Coca bottle supplier. Yes. Okay. If we acquire the customer, then it is considered as a forward integration. And if we acquire the supplier, then it is considered as a backward integration and forward integration. Okay. And what is the objective in a vertical combination? Basic objective. We should be in a position to control the input plus end market or end market. Means if you acquire the supplier, then input or end market. If you acquire the customer, then it is end market. Okay. So this is basically the vertical combination. In a horizontal combination, we acquire the competitor. In vertical combination, we acquire supplier or the customer. Now the third one is circular combination. Okay. In vertical and horizontal, we deal with the competitor, supplier, and customer. Okay. So more or less with the same line of business. But if we acquire any unrelated company, okay, then we consider this as a circular. Means whatever the current business we have, okay, we are not focusing on that, we are diversifying. Okay. Okay, so there are three companies. who are operated all together in a different activities, and if they come together, okay, particularly for a real estate purpose, okay. So if you find most of the entrepreneurs who are operated in a different businesses, but they jointly start the real estate business, okay. So this is basically the unrelated for all the participant, all the businesses who are come together, okay. So this is basically the circular combination. So you just need to keep in mind, if there is a unrelated acquire, okay, not related with the local current business activity, then we need to consider this as a circular combination. In a horizontal combination, competitor; vertical combination, customer or supplier. Then diagonal combination. So diagonal combination. In circular, it is totally unrelated. In a diagonal, it is related, but it is not that. I mean, there is a very remote relation, like service. If you are in, if you are selling the selling a computer or computer parts, okay, and you are acquiring some business entity who are providing a service to this computer users, okay, so then it is a diagonal combination. So like here they give an example of a transporters, land right farms, they acquire a transporter, okay, so that is basically the service which they the service which they hire, okay, so that business unit acquired by the particular entity, so that is basically the diagonal combination. So mostly it is manufacturing company and the transporter or the logistic firm. If there is a combination of any manufacturing company plus logistic company, so this is basically the diagonal combination. Or like consumer goods plus packaging company. So these are basically the diagonal combination. Okay, so like what we saw: horizontal, vertical, circular, and diagonal. Horizontal, competitor; competitor; vertical, supplier, it is backward integration; customer, it is forward integration. Okay, then circular, unrelated, okay, and then diagonal, so service. Example is manufacturing company plus transportation or logistic. Okay. Then transactions. merger. So merger. So in merger, actually, two companies come together, two or more companies come together. Come together and form a single entity. Single or new entity. Entity. Okay. Single or new entity. So see, if there is a absorb like merger and if there is an acquisition, then one entity may acquire another one. Acquire another one. Okay. The only thing is that two, three companies they come together and they form a single entity. So sometime the new entity incorporate and every I mean the existing entities they need to lose their identity. And in acquisition, one entity acquire another. So one entity may retain their identity, but the other entities may need to lose their identity. This is basically the acquisition. Okay. So example, in merger in 2016, Dell Inc. and EMC Corp merged to become a Dell Technologies. Okay, the total deal was worth close 60 billion and brought together two powerful technology franchises with a strong capability in storage, server, PCs, hybrid cloud, convergent infrastructure, mobile and security. So here what happened? That Dell technology is basically the new entity. So Dell Inc. and EMC Corp, they lose their identity and now they become a Dell Technologies. In acquisition, in 1984, the US Department of Justice instructed AT&T to divest its regional telephone company. So 22 years later, AT&T reacquired Bell South in deal worth more than $85 billion. The company retained the name AT&T. So in acquisition, one entity retain their identity and the other entities need to lose their lose their identity. Okay. So in merger, new entity form, and in acquisition, one entity may retain their identity. Then tender offer. Okay. So in tender offer, it is a mode of acquisition actually. So what happened, instead of directly discussing with the management, some entity what they do, they float and tender, where they prescribe buying price. Buying price, okay, so that the existing shareholders can sell their shares at that price. Okay, so that is basically the tender offer. So it is like how I can say, the public offer made by a company or an investor to purchase the shares from the existing shareholder of another company at a specified price. Okay, so once I mean it is not the deal with the management. Okay, what the investor is doing, they approach directly to the shareholders and start to acquire the shares from them at a prescribed price. Okay, so that is basically the tender offer. In merger and acquisition, the management come together and they decide whether they want to merge or the one company is going to acquire. Okay, but in tender offer, the investor directly deal with the existing shareholders and try to acquire whatever the holding the existing shareholders have. Okay. So, example is basically Biltmore Inc. offers $13 per share to buy the stock directly from the shareholder of Alexander Company, the target company. Alexander stock is currently selling at $11 per share. making the Biltmore offer very attractive to target shareholder. Assuming that the majority of the shareholder agree to terms and Biltmore will provide $13 per share. This is an example of tender offer. Okay. So sometime what happened, the investor don't want to inform or don't want to deal with the management of the company. So that's why just to build his power over the target company, he started to approach the existing shareholder, and he's planning to buy the shares from them, and for that he is okay to pay the premium to the existing shareholder. So what happened means, if you see here, the stock of Alexander currently selling at $11 per share. Okay, but Biltmore offer a $13. That means he is okay to pay $2 to the as a premium to the existing shareholder. And once he acquired the 51% shares, then he started to discuss with the management or claim the ownership of the company. Okay, like this. So this is basically the tender offer. Then purchase of asset. So it is a simple, instead of buying company, okay, so investor may purchase a limited asset. Limited asset means whatever the asset useful to him. In merger, acquisition, or tender offer. These are basically the share deal. Share deal means you are not acquiring a particular asset of the company, you are acquiring entire company. It is with all asset plus liability. Okay, maybe it is a past liability or the current existing liability. Okay, everything is required to be acquired. That's why we call it as a share deal. Means ownership is get established by exchange of the shares. Okay, but in purchase of asset, purchase of asset, you are acquiring the asset of the company only, of the company. Okay, so you are not responsible for any past tax. This is the benefit. You may acquire the 100% asset, but you do not require to settle to the past liability or past creditors. Not responsible for any past tax. Okay, so that is basically the purchase of asset. In merger, acquisition, and tender offer, you are acquiring the shares, and this way you are become an owner of the company. So that's why you are responsible for all past liability. But in purchase of the asset, you are not responsible for any past act. You just buying an asset, whatever you means whatever the asset you want. Okay, so if you see here, Locks Industry enter into an asset purchase agreement with Bright Star Inc. to purchase approximately 80% of the letters, building, and equipment. As a part of the agreement, Locks agrees to assume liability associated with the mortgage outstanding. This is only the specific. This is mortgage outstanding on the building and capital lease on the equipment purchase. So only he is okay to assume the liability. Okay, but he is not responsible for all the liabilities of the company. So that is basically the benefit in a purchase asset. If we acquire the company through exchange of shares, then you are responsible for all past liabilities. But if you just acquire the asset, then if you can contractually bind for any liability, then okay. Otherwise, you are not responsible for any liability or past liability. Okay, so merger, acquisition, tender offer. These are basically the share deal. Okay, means you are gaining an ownership by exchange of share. Sale of asset, this is basically you are need to means you are buying only a usable asset, like in earlier example only 80% asset and the corresponding liability of on that asset. Okay, then divestiture. Divestiture. So generally we are doing a divestiture for a partial selling of the company. So it is basically the partial or full disposal of a component or business unit of the company. Okay, so you are not selling full company, or you are not assigning full control of the company, only particular unit or the component that you are going to sell. Okay, so there are 2-3 types. The sale of divestiture. So it is basically the outright sale of particular unit or any subsidiary. Okay, so like you may that could be the share deal or the purchase of asset, but the component or the unit of a organization. Okay, so example is basically the management and stakeholder of big company industries think that its ownership of Blended Limited is causing the overall entity to be undervalued from a market perspective. So as a result, the company sell the asset and liability of the Blended to another entity in the hope that the investor will react favorably to the sale, which will lead to increase the stock price. So what happened here? Like any foreign company, they have a subsidiary in India, having a subsidiary in India, and they feel they cannot run this subsidiary. Okay, so for the foreign company, this is basically the unit or component. Okay, so what they do, they will sell the subsidiary to any Indian entity, entire subsidiary. Okay, so part of foreign entity sold to Indian entity. So that is basically the sell off. Full component along with the liability. Then spin off. In spin off, first we separate out from main company. Okay, like this subsidiary is a part of the foreign corporation, but first what they do, they I mean it is actually in a different territory, so that's why it is a already separate out. But if it is like particular unit of particular unit of a company, okay, so what they do, first transfer this unit to the new company. Okay, and the shareholders of the existing company may get the share of the new company. Share of new company first distributed to the existing shareholder. Existing shareholder. Okay, and after that, this company get liquidated. Okay, so in spin-off, the incorporation of new company is required. Okay, in sell-off, whatever may be the component associated with a parent company or the main company, that gets sell-off as it is. But in spin-off, first you are transferring the asset and liability of a particular unit to the new company, and then there is a new company gets sell-off. Okay, so here they gave an example. In 1994, Eli Lilly and the company, a large US-based global pharmaceutical company, shifted its focus purely to pharmaceutical and other similar business. As a result, Lilly spun off its medical device division, which went public later than a year under the name Guidant. So Guidant focus on cardiovascular medical products such as artificial pacemaker, stent and cardioverter and defibrillators. Okay, so this is basically the spin-off. Okay, in spin-off, generally you are separate out the unit or component from the main company, and after that you may sell it out. Then equity carve out. Equity carve out. Okay, actually in spin-off, it is basically we are maintaining two company. We are not selling. Companies. Okay. After that, when we sell one company, that is basically the equity carve out. Okay. So a equity carve out occurs when a subsidiary is made up public through an initial public offering, thereby creating a new publicly listed company. Unlike a spin-off in which no cash come to the parent company, the sale of shares in the new company generate cash for the parent as well as providing the parent with controlling interest in the subsidiary. Okay, so the hope is the strategy will unlock the independent value of subsidiary previously contained within the merged entity. Okay, so what happened in spin-off? We are maintaining two companies with a 100% ownership. Okay. And in equity carve out, what we are going to do, we are maintaining a 51% with us. Okay. And the 49% we may liquidate. Okay. So what happened here? Because we are maintaining 51%, so we can claim the ownership or we are part of the decision maker ownership, and plus we are getting a cash. Okay, so whatever the 49% we liquidated, whatever the cash received against that liquidation, that we are able to get it. So that is basically the equity curve. Okay, so first sell off, in sell off we are completely in sell off we are completely dispose of the particular unit. Okay, in spin off we are not disposing anything, we are not getting any cash, we are just separate out one unit, and we converted this unit to the new company. Okay, and the shareholder of the parent company get a share of the new company. And equity carve out, whatever may be the new company incorporated, out of in this new company we are maintaining a 51% with us so that we can claim the ownership, and 49% we are going to liquidate. So that happened in a equity carve out. Okay, so sell off, spin off and equity carve out. Okay, so we just take an example. So Teco Industries is a multinational company with several divisions specializing in a unique product line. Fearing that TECO is not focusing enough on its core business, management would like to divest one of its company unit. Management is interested in both a cash infusion from the divestiture and maintaining some degree of control. So the equity carve-out is most likely choice because it would provide cash while allowing a management to retain controlling interest. So in equity carve-out, we are always maintaining 51% with us. Only we liquidate the 49% so that we can generate some cash. In a spin-off, we are maintaining the 100% with us. The only there is a separation of the unit and converted it to the new company. And in sell-off, we are selling entirely the division of a particular division or component of a company. So sale of the division or component of a company. Spin-off, we are separate out the particular division or component and convert it to the new company. Okay, so in spin-off we are maintaining two companies, and in equity carve-out, whatever the division, means the division we converted to the new company, we are retaining a 51% ownership of that new company, and 49% we are liquidating so that we can generate some cash while we are able to maintain control over the new company. Any doubt here? Okay, so here we are going to finish the first part. Okay, so we will take a 15-minute break here. Okay, around 10:05 we will start again with the question and answer. Okay, so I will drop a WhatsApp like the word file for the questions. Okay, so you can view on your computer as well, laptop as well. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. हा दिसणारच नाही.
नाही तो नाही दिसणार.
आता इथे सौरभ, इथे माझं व्हॉट्सअप ओपन कर. इथं सिलेक्ट कर.
डॉक्युमेंटमध्ये
डॉक्युमेंट मध्ये नाही नाही, हे पर्सन डेस्कटॉप. डेस्कटॉप हा हे सुमित, हा त्याच्यात सुमित फाईल CPA बार. त्याच्यात हे डेट घे. हा हा हा. हे पूर्ण इंग्लिश.
लाज नाही मध्ये
आता बघ, हे बघ पहिले इथं स्क्रीन. हे बंद.
हा बाई एकदम बरोबर सर.
बसताना कसं दिसतं ते बघून घे. एक अच्छा दिसत व्हॉट्सअप. Okay. Can we start now? I already sent the Word file on a WhatsApp group. Okay, so the first question. As an organization define its risk appetite, it is supporting which of the following component of the COSO's enterprise risk management framework? Strategy and objective setting. Yes. Okay. So there are 5 components of a COSO: governance and culture, second, strategy and objective setting, performance, review and revision, and the information communication and reporting. Okay. So here the D is the right answer: strategy and objective setting, where we decide risk appetite of the organization. Question number 2. The definition of ERM. Yeah. The culture, capability, and practices integrated with strategy setting and performance that organizations rely on to manage risk in creating, preserving, and realizing value. So C is the right answer. Tennis racket and tennis ball are complementary goods. Yes, A is the right answer. Question number 4.
Sir, B.
Develop strategy in a manner that align with the management risk appetite. Yeah, so you cannot avoid all the risk. Okay, so only entity wide strategic goals you cannot you cannot place. Okay, so you need to consider the business objective at all level of the organization, and 100% uncertainty you cannot eliminate. So B is the right answer. Question number 5. Porter 5 forces. So in question you will get the case actually. Okay. Entry barrier. Okay, because it requires a large capital. So, so entry barrier is the that may restrict. Okay, so C is the right answer. Question number 6.
Sir, E.
D or B?
The elasticity of demand directly percentage change in demand related.
No, I'm not able to hear your voice clearly.
The elasticity of demand or supply basically is related to percentage change in demand.
Okay, so here, as I said, means we always check the demand or supply with respect to the price. Okay, so D is the right answer. A measure of how sensitive the demand for or supply of a product is to a change in its prices. Okay, so we always elasticity we always for demand or supply we always check with respect to prices. Question number 7.
SWOT analysis.
SWOT analysis. Yeah. Whenever we are evaluating internal and external factors, it is SWOT analysis. Question number 8.
Value realization.
Realization, because it is investor is receiving the amount, so it is realization. If increase in share price, then it is creation. Question number 9.
Value creation.
Value creation. B is the right answer. Question number 10.
A, sir.
Which one? A. Liquidity risk. Yeah, correct. If we are purchasing temporary investment, okay, so at that time we may face a liquidity risk. Question number 11.
Culture. A, sir.
A. Culture. Question number 12.
Sir, C.
Supplier does not face the threat of substitute product. At that time only he can influence to the customer. C is the right answer. Question number 13.
Sir, not sure, but D.
B. When the cost of buyer switching is high, the effect. Any other guess? In B, if the cost switching the cost of the buyer is high, okay, so in that situation he cannot easily go to the substitute. So substitute product cannot affect the competitive environment. So B is not the right
Sir,
answer.
C.
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 If many close substitute exist, buyer have a little choice of the product and may be willing to pay a higher price for the product that are. See, if there are many close substitute exist, then the buyer has a bargaining capacity. He can reject or accept any substitute. So in that situation, he is not going to pay the higher premium, higher price. So C is also not the answer. Now you need to select from A and D.
Sir, D, sir.
Yes, D is the right answer. The impact of substitute will have a more of an effect on competitive environment of a firm if the substitute are readily available for a customer to obtain. If the switching cost is less, okay, and it is easily available, then the substitute impacted the competitive environment. So D is the right answer. Question number 14.
Sir, A.
Yeah, A. A is the right answer. Question number 15.
Sir, B.
Result in a shortage. Yes. Because the maximum price is below the equilibrium price, so supplier is not interested to produce much. Okay, but the customers are willing to buy more, so that's why shortage may arise. Okay, so B is the right answer. Question number 16.
Indifferent, sir.
No. Industry where a diabetic. Indifferent, see, first indifferent arises when the change in prices will not affect, the change in prices will not affect the change in demand or supply. Means if the product are not related, okay, then it is indifferent.
So then it's indifferent only, no, sir, here. Because they've told that there is no other substitute. So the people will pay whatever the price is. So it's indifferent only.
No. See what happened. Like even if the prices change, okay, it will not affect the demand. But when we are saying the indifferent, when the change in demand is basically the zero, okay. Here what happened, instead of price change, it will not affect. Means the demand is still as it is.
So D, perfectly inelastic.
Perfectly inelastic. Yeah, D is the right answer. I'll just explain. This is quantity and this is price. Okay. In case of the perfectly inelastic, your demand curve is like this. Whatever may be the price change, it is totally, the same demand is there. So that's why it is perfectly inelastic. Question number 17.
Top combination.
Sir,
No.
D.
D, merger. Okay. Uh, Actually, the stock combination is not the word in a business combination. Okay. Question number 18.
Sir, A.
A. Yeah, product demand is more elastic when more substitutes are available. Okay. Then, like the change ratio of change in prices is less than the ratio of change in demand. So that's why A is the right answer. Question number 19.
Sir, B, 1, 2, and
And
3.
3 all are inherent risk. Question number 20. We already discussed this question.
Sir, C.
Shortage. Yeah. Yeah. Question number 21.
Sir, B, $1.
Sir, D. $3.
Yeah. So, like where the demand and supply are the same, that would be the most preferable price. So, $3. Maximizing the profit. So, D is the right answer. Because see what happened, if you cannot supply the 20, even though demand is 25, you can supply only 5. Okay, so your profit is less. Okay, because you are supplying the less quantity. Okay, if you are supplying 20 quantity but demand is 10, so in that situation there is a overstocking. Okay, and because of that reason your profit is again less. Okay, so when you are supply as much as possible demand, that would be the right point. So that's why the 15 15 and the 3 price point is correct. So D is the right answer. Question number 22.
D, sir.
Yeah. Question number 23.
Value preservation.
Preservation. Because we are maintaining the value, we are not creating and there is no realization. So D is the right answer. Value preservation. Question number 24.
D, sir. Core values
Commitment
commitment.
to core value. Yeah. So here, I means wherever the decision making from the top management is required, that is basically the part of governance and culture. So performance, information, communication and reporting and strategy and objective setting is basically there. Even these are the component actually, these are not the principle. Only commitment to core value is basically the principle. So D is the right answer. Question number 25.
Sir, A.
And face the risk of pursuit. Yeah. Exists to provide value for shareholder and face the risk in pursuit of that value. So, yeah, A is the right answer. 26.
So D.
Provide equally across all level of the organization. Yeah. Because you cannot all information you can provide to everyone. Okay, so I mean, depend on the sensitivity of the information, you need to decide to whom you need to submit the information. Question number 27.
Sir, B.
Acceptance. Why it is acceptance and not sharing? I mean, giving in. Means by taking an insurance. You cannot avoid or reduce, that's for sure. But you can take an insurance.
Sir, so B, acceptance, right?
Yeah. No, no, but why it is?
So because
Sir, A.
earthquake and
Potential
sun.
damage.
Yeah, it is a potential damage and the management is ready to accept. Okay. So that's why it is an acceptance. The company like to treat the potential damage from as a part of business model. They don't want to do anything. So that's why it is an acceptance. If it is given in the question to avoid this, they want to take an insurance, then it is a sharing, not avoidance. Question number 28.
Sir, B.
Sir, B.
B.
Yeah, 160 to 240. So 1 lakh 50,000 multiplied by 104%, multiplied by again 104. 1.104%. 160 to 240. Question number 29. That we already discussed.
B, sir.
Governance and culture. Correct. Question number 30.
Sir, B.
Quantity demanded of rental space exceed the quantity supplied. Yes. So there is a shortage. Question number 31. Horizontal merger.
Sir, A.
A, yeah. So they are competitors. Horizontal competitor, vertical customer and supplier. Question number 32.
Sir, B.
B, it aids management in balancing risk, uncertainty with the need to increase the value returns. Yeah. Question number 33.
Sir, D.
Yeah. So how we need to calculate?
Sir, simple 50,000 by
4 lakh
4.5.
50,000. Yes, 4 lakh 50,000. Correct. Question number 34.
Sir, can you repeat the 33? Which answer is it?
It is D, 11.1%. So that we can calculate 50,000 is basically the 10% of 5 lakh. Okay. And the 50,000 we need to maintain as a minimum balance. So usable amount is 5 lakh minus 50,000. Okay. So that's why denominator is 4 lakh 50,000. So 50,000 divided by 4 lakh 50,000, it is 11.1%.
Sir, B.
Yeah,
34.
number of substitute available for the product. Question number 35.
Sir, A. Sir, A.
Just a minute. So B cannot be the answer because in an inflation period, your surplus money get reduced. So those holding a large amount of money is not possible. So B is not the answer.
Sir, A.
Yeah. Which of the following group in a society would be most likely to gain? Those with a fixed income. Yeah, A is the right answer. So if you have an fixed income, in that situation also you cannot pay or you are not able to gain. And the contract with the cost of living adjustment. So they are also not able to gain because they can just match the inflation, but they cannot gain. So A is the right answer.
Sir, but those with fixed amount of debt, if there's high inflation, then they can't pay the debt because they have to use the money for other living things which they require. So the debt, how is it correct?
I mean, see, like if the inflation goes on, okay, and if you are paying a debt, so in that situation, I mean, um, whatever may be the higher amount of US dollar, okay, that they need to apply, so they can save over there because see, if tomorrow further inflation may increase, okay, so in that situation you need to pay further higher amount. Just on it, I'll try to prepare one example. Okay, see, uh, for lender, it may be a loss. Okay, because say for interest rate is 6% and the inflation rate is 8%. Okay, so on 1 lakh, okay, he may earn the interest of 6,000, but he need to like for example 8,000 is an inflation, so his value is basically the 98,000. That is for lender. But the same, if you think about the borrower, okay, so whatever may be the 1 lakh he has, okay, so I mean, like he need to pay only 6%. When the inflation rate is 8%, the market expected interest rate is somewhere around 8 plus. Okay, so but because he has a I mean he is a borrower, so he has a debt, so he need to pay the interest with a 6%. Means he can pay interest with a higher dollar rate like this. So that's why he is in position to gain. Lender may be in a position to lose because his net asset value goes down, but borrower he is going to earn.
Okay, sir.
Then question number 36, or I mean, how you can consider. Okay, so you can consider this way as well. When he borrowed the money, the real value of the money is 1 lakh. Okay, but now because of interest adjustment and the inflation adjustment, the real value of the money is 98,148. Okay, so this may be loss for the lender, but this is the gain for the borrower. I mean, he took a loan of 100,000, but now he need to repay 98,148 in real terms or real value. So that's why this is basically the gain for the borrower. Question number 36.
D, sir.
Yeah, control environment is not the part of ERM. Question number 37.
Is it D, sir?
Available for product A. Okay, yes, because demand decrease at a faster rate than price increase. Okay, so that means like substitutes are more readily available. That's why the for product A, people started to shift to other substitute. Okay, so D is the right answer. Question number 38. Any answer? C. D. A, B, C. A consumer if the boycott a particular product, then demand get decreased. So D is the right answer, a decrease in demand for the product. Question number 39. C. Information, communication, and reporting. Yeah, C is the right answer. Question number 40. C, the impact of substitute will have a more of an effect on D. If few substitute exist, last one, or B? Okay, so if few substitute exist, buyer may have a limit on the maximum price. So if few substitute exist, then the buyer have a bargaining capacity. So he don't have a limit on the maximum price. Okay,
So
supply.
D, last one.
Last one. Yeah, last one is the right answer. Supplier, whatever the supplier can charge, buyer need to pay in case of a B. Okay, so buyer don't have a limit on the maximum price. They cannot dictate the prices in this situation if the few substitutor exist. Okay, so D is the right answer. D is exactly opposite of B. So that's why D is the right answer. Question number 41.
So A.
A, yeah. ERM cannot provide absolute assurance. Okay, so A is the right answer. Question number 42.
So A.
Yeah. So it is not the sole responsibility of the board of directors. So A is the right answer. Question number 43.
Sir, the price of the contract was 250. Is it 25,000 or
It is the
35,000?
premium. No. Price of the contract was 250 means the premium which we are paying. Okay, because we like book the prices at 3.5, and for that means whatever may be the prices we book, for that we paid the $250.
Okay, sir, got it. Sir, D, contract produce savings of
Yeah,
3250.
3250. So how we are going to calculate it? 3.85 is a selling price, but we already buy the future at 3.5. Okay, so total saving of 0.35 multiplied by 10,000. Out of that 250 we need to pay for a future contract. So net saving is 3250. D is the right answer. The contract produce saving of 3250. Question number 44.
D, sir.
D. The buyers have low switching cost of changing product. So in that situation, like bargaining power of the customer get increased. They ask where the bargaining power of customer is not able to increase. So D is not the answer.
Sir, A.
A.
A is the right answer. Yeah. Question number 55. 45, sorry.
Sir, D, equity carve out.
D, yeah, equity carve out, because we are selling 40% interest in this business. So that happened in equity carve out. Question number 46. Price increase will cause revenue decrease. Okay, that can happen when the quantity demanded at a higher rate than price increase.
Sir, is it A, sir?
No. First, when the quantity demanded decrease at a higher rate than price increase, that means it is elastic. So C is the right answer. It is more than one. Denominator change in price, numerator change in demand. So the elasticity is more than one. So that's why it is elastic. Price change, price increase in a denominator, change in price increase in a denominator, and the change in quantity demanded in numerator. As the total revenue get decreased, that means the numerator is at a higher rate.
So, sir, but the customers may switch easily to the substitute products, right? If the price is increased.
Yeah, that is going to be happened now. Because of that reason, the demand get decreased. They shifted to the substitute product.
Okay.
Question number 47.
A, sir.
It is a future, so it is an financial instrument.
Sir, is it C?
No, because we are again block the prices, so that is also the financial instrument. B is the right answer. A fixed interest 5-year note payable. That is not the financial instrument. Question number 48. In earlier question number 47, future, option, and what is the third one? Forward. These three are financial instrument. FD and everything, these are not the financial instrument. Question number 48.
D, sir.
D is the right answer. Yeah. Question number 49.
Sir, B, complimentary goods.
The local video store business increased by 12% after the raise its prices from 9 to 11. This is an example of. It is a
Substitute goods, sir.
substitute. It is a substitute. Complementary means where you can buy along with this. They are the competitor. So switching is possible. So it is complementary good. Substitute good. Sorry. A is the right answer. Last one.
Sir, C, risk
Risk
seeking.
seeking. Yeah, C is the right answer. Okay. So in next class we will do first the simulation and then we start for a B2. Okay. Any doubt in this portion?
Sir, till the next class, can you share the PDF of the textbook which you used? Because we don't have anything to revise.
Okay, but I mean that you can. I mean, you have a if you have a Baker LMS, then you can access on in on your computer as well in LMS as well.
Sir, we haven't received the LMS access
Okay,
credentials
understood.
yet, so.
Okay, so okay, because it is not a downloadable, so that's why I think it is difficult to share. But let me check with Sudipta and I'll get back to you. What we can do.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, then. So, anyone has any question, doubt, query? If no question, then I will close the class.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, bye everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.